Hello lads, lassies, and those of unspecified gender, it's the Irishman here, and today we're going to be talking about what would have happened if Goku married Android 21. This is the second part to this what if, and if you haven't seen the first one, I'd greatly recommend you go check that video out before coming back to this one. Now, it will be linked in the description below, as well with a playlist that you can watch if you just like watching my videos, I don't know. But with all of that out of the way, let's get into the story of this what if. Also, like I jokingly said in the last part, I actually do have a Cash App, and if you're looking to support the channel, I'll throw it up on screen and link it in the description. So, on to the video. Raditz would come to Earth in search of his younger brother Kakarot. However, he would never find him, as the Saiyan that Raditz was in search of had died long ago on his course to Earth. As Goku, the one that was the son of Bardock and the brother of Goku, didn't really have a chance in this story. Instead, the Goku that we follow was a Tuffle creation, one sent to Earth years ago. In fact, he's even older than Raditz now, even if he doesn't look it. Raditz would find the person he believes to be his brother, giving the same expositional dump that we got at the regular beginning of Z. However, this time when Goku denies it, he's not wholly wrong. In fact, he isn't related to Raditz in the slightest. The only part he's actually wrong about is not believing he's a Saiyan. However, I doubt he would say that here. It would actually clear a lot of things up. Android 21 would have been able to see that Goku doesn't really have the same biological structure as any human. His mind is far more advanced and his body is, well, entirely different, as well as far more durable and powerful. So, being a Saiyan, being from a warrior race, actually does make quite a lot of sense. Raditz would get enraged by this though, not believing his brother when he says these things. Rather, he believes wholeheartedly that Goku is his biological family, and the fact that Goku is refusing to join him, even if family doesn't mean much to Saiyans, is getting under his skin. So he lashes out, trying to knee Goku in the stomach. However, this time it doesn't really affect him all that much. Goku's power level here is probably around 5,000, same with Android 21, meaning the two of them are around Nappa level, thereby far stronger than Raditz, even if they are still in the same ballpark. Goku is still far ahead of his wannabe brother, and would be able to land him on the ground, making sure he can't hurt anybody in the state he would be in, completely unconscious. Android 21 would make sure to be able to get some restraints powerful enough to hold Raditz, that way he can't cause any harm while they're trying to sort this situation out. It would take a couple of hours, but eventually Raditz would wake up, now being held in place by some pretty high-tech restraints. Goku would begin to interrogate him, asking him everything about the Saiyans and where he comes from, as Goku is genuinely curious. Even if he doesn't really believe that he's Raditz's brother, there is still a chance, and he's curious to find out what Raditz has to say. So now, being on the back foot, Raditz would take a much more docile approach to explaining everything, especially trying to appeal to Goku's sense of empathy, bringing up his hellish conditions being with Vegeta and Nappa for most of his life, as well as having to work under the slave master that is Frieza. And Goku actually does feel pretty bad for this guy. Even if he doesn't see him as family, he does still see him as somebody in need. And even if he isn't the best person, I mean, immediately going to attack someone you think is family isn't exactly a good person thing to do, Goku does still want to help. He is a good person, unlike this person claiming to be his brother. But see, Goku also isn't an idiot, so he would understand keeping Raditz anywhere near a popularized area is not exactly the best idea. So once again, he knocks out the Saiyan, this time bringing him up to the lookout, where Kami would begin to rework how the Room of Spirit and Time behaves, changing the time dilation to be far less, as well as amping up the gravity. Raditz would have commented on how weak Earth's is, as well as saying that the planet that they grew up on had 10 times. So Kami doubles the hyperbolic time chamber's gravity, that way it is instead 20 times rather than the normal 10. He also makes the living conditions far less livable. The weather is constantly changing and always extreme, as well as making the air far harder to breathe. all of this attributing to Raditz not being able to escape, and even if he does, the likes of Kami and Popo can just throw him back in if necessary. They do want to make Raditz a good person, but they also understand that he is a very powerful threat, one that only a handful of people on Earth could deal with. So they need to make sure he's properly contained, that way when they do begin transitioning him into a good person, he doesn't kill anybody. That would probably send them a couple steps back. Meanwhile, Goku would be tinkering with the tech that Raditz brought along, the Scouter as well as his space pod. These were both interesting inventions and things Goku would want to inspect, reverse engineering both and being able to improve upon them tenfold. His mind, like I said before, is far superior to pretty much anything else in the universe, running like a supercomputer with the biological advantages that comes from free thought. So yeah, Goku is pretty dang smart here, as well as having an infinite power source out in space to fuel any technology that he wants to produce. And after reverse engineering the Scouter, he would begin talking with Nappa and Vegeta. The two Saiyans would explain that they're coming to Earth in 1 year's time, not only to retrieve Raditz, but also whoever defeated him, as they could be a valuable asset in trying to take down Frieza, which would then prompt Goku to begin training with the rest of Earth's greatest forces, not only to defend against Nappa and Vegeta, but also against Frieza. For the longest time, Goku was only training to better himself, and although he did have sparring partners in the form of his son, his wife, and his friends, they weren't really any challenge to him, with the exception of Android 21, but neither of them were able to make any significant strides, as they had no real goal post to reach for. They were only doing it to better themselves, like Roshi had taught them. Yet now there's actually a goal. There's a hill to climb over, and they're going to damn well try. And maybe, just maybe, they'll actually be able to reach Frieza's level. But they actually don't really have any gauge for what that is, until they ask Raditz. Apparently, Frieza's power level was in the 500 to 600,000 range, which, seeing as Goku was only about 5,000, definitely meant they had a ways to go. But now they actually had a place to reach. They actually had a goal to strive for, and they were going to do their best to get there. And seeing as they all have pretty incredible potential, it shouldn't be too hard. By the time that the Saiyans arrive, both Android 21 and Goku would have reached Ginyu Force level power levels. In fact, Goku would have even surpassed where he was when he took down Captain Ginyu, having a power level of 120,000. Android 21 would have a power level of 100,000, although her attacks are a bit more varied and she is equal to skill with Goku, so they are pretty much on par even if Goku's raw power is a bit higher. And you might think this means the Saiyan saga is pretty clear cut here, and it is. Vegeta and Nappa would each be taken down with relative ease, seeing as both of them are far weaker than each of these two individually. Collectively, even in Great Ape, the two of them could only take down one of these two fighters. Working together, especially with the boost they would get from their connection, Android 21 and Goku would be able to take down pretty much anybody going forward. Well, that's a bit of hyperbole. There are definitely some foes they're going to have trouble with. Case in point, Frieza. Now having two more Saiyans in their captivity, probably put in the same place they have Raditz, they would be able to get a lot more information on Frieza, as well as his current activity. Now, with two more Scouters and two more space pods, Goku would be able to further his development into finding out Frieza Force tech, discovering all of the ins and outs of his technology, and how to further advance Goku's own, which would lead to him being able to track down Frieza's exact location, the mothership he's currently using, and how to pretty much just make it blow up in the middle of space. Goku wouldn't do this, of course, it's an easy out if he wanted to, but he is still a Saiyan. He thrives on the idea of a perfect challenge, and Frieza does seem to be that. Eventually, they would find out that Frieza is setting a direct course for Earth, as he would have no idea about the dragonballz, seeing as the information would never be disclosed to any of his troops while they still had their Scouters, because Goku would realize that maybe telling the entire solar system, galaxy, hell, maybe even universe about the Earth's most powerful resource, something that could grant any wish the user wanted maybe isn't the best idea. So instead, Goku would keep quiet until he made sure that the information wouldn't get to anybody he didn't want knowing. So Frieza doesn't know about them. Rather, he's coming to Earth because it was the last place the 3 remaining Saiyans were seen going. Now he wants to take care of them once and for all, or claim the planet that was strong enough to actually get rid of them once and for all. But knowing that Frieza is coming to them rather than the other way around, they need to make some necessary precautions, as they thought they would be taking the fight to Frieza, but now the reverse is happening, and this is a problem because now they have a limited amount of time, 5 to 6 months to be exact, seeing as people in Frieza's army have a tendency of spouting out whenever they're going to be to their next location. Which I guess isn't too unrealistic. Google Maps does the same thing, but the point is that now Goku, Android 21, Gohan, as well as Vegeta would all be entering the Room of Spirit and Time. They realize they don't have a ton of it, so now they're able to get as much as they want. Time, that is. Now, those first 3 probably make sense. The Sun family would obviously train together, getting stronger together as a family unit. However, it might seem a bit strange to include Vegeta in this, but it also isn't, because Vegeta is one of, if not the biggest threat to the Earth at the current moment. Frieza won't be there for a while, they can prepare, but they have no way to contain Vegeta outside of the place that they are currently training in. And if they were to just let him run rampant among the streets of Earth, there might not be an Earth to come back to, as the Sun family are the only people actually strong enough to put up a decent fight against the Prince. But enough stalling. Frieza has arrived and he is out for blood. Monkey blood specifically. However, thankfully Bubbles isn't here, so he's not getting any of that banana flavored ooze today. That was definitely a sentence, but moving on, Frieza would begin killing humans by the millions, until eventually the Z-Fighters would make their presence known. Goku and Gohan would step foot on the scene, as Android 21 was sticking back to disable all of the Frieza Force's tech, making sure that they can't flee and get away even if they do end up being victorious. They've heard that Frieza has other transformations, so it's possible they're not strong enough to take him down, but even if they can't, they want to make sure he's not leaving here alive. The Ginyu Force would have been deployed to find all of the remaining Saiyans, bringing them to Frieza so they could face public execution. However, they would only find one, Vegeta. And when I say he is working some stuff out here, I mean they would be pulverized, each one killed swiftly and painfully, with Ginyu being saved for last. He would realize that Ginyu has the ability to change bodies, so how does he remedy this? He removes his ability to, but not by sucking out the power or whatever, no. Instead, he breaks Ginyu's jaw clean off. That way he can't speak the words and he can't cast his spell. He cannot change bodies if he isn't able to launch the attack. So Vegeta would begin beating into him. Blow after blow, Ginyu would feel the pain until eventually Vegeta ends him once and for all. This would definitely be a bit graphic, but it would also be pretty cathartic for the Saiyan Prince, who would have been tortured for pretty much his entire life by the Frieza Force, and I'm sure the Ginyu Force weren't entirely innocent from that. You could say they got their just desserts, but now it's time for the main course. Vegeta would fly over to the battlefield, seeing Frieza in his final form. Goku and Gohan were able to press him that much, and now even with Vegeta joining the fight, they aren't able to do too much. That is until Vegeta creates a Power Ball. Him and Gohan would transform into great apes. Raditz and Nappa would have been advised to stay out of this conflict. They weren't strong enough yet. Even a great ape, they would just be flies compared to the dinosaur that is Frieza. However, Vegeta and Gohan are able to do some pretty serious damage to the Emperor. Sadly, Goku doesn't appear to actually be able to turn great ape, at least in a conventional sense. But then he gets an idea. He realized that most of his power comes from the star that is currently fueling him, so he flies out into space, heading to the sun, and then he begins to absorb his energy Superman style. I don't know why I referred to the sun as a him, but you get it. He would be able to gain a massive amount of power, eventually flying back down to the planet in a great ape-like transformation, which I'll just say looks sort of similar to Super Saiyan 4, only because I think it sounds cool. Now obviously, it would have nowhere near the same power and only be a 10 times boost, but it's kind of an in-between between Ikari and Super Saiyan 4 in terms of design, which we will call Solar Saiyan, just because it's rad. Although all three of them together still are not capable of taking out Frieza, seeing as collectively their power level only adds up to around half of the Emperor's full strength, meaning that they're definitely still on a back foot, until Android 21 gets an idea. Vami would send out a message to every piece of technology she can access, so every piece of technology. It would play a voice message telling them that she's sorry, but she needs to take a little bit of their energy. She needs to be able to take down the threat currently invading, and she can't do it without their strength. And then a wave of energy would be sent throughout the planet, taking a sliver of power from every living thing, Frieza included, but it's unnoticeable because of how much power he has. The reason that you can't just take all of Frieza's is because it's taking a little bit from everything, rather than a large amount from one source. So now, having this much strength absorbed into her, she would enter the fight, actually being able to shift the tides of the battle. Now don't get me wrong, she was definitely powerful in her own right, but now with this power-up, she should be strong enough to take on Frieza. Not on her own, of course, I'd say she probably has a power level of 60 million, but with the other three backing her up, they are able to take down Frieza, at least momentarily. He would be on the ground, now having the stamina beaten out of him, and being weak enough where even one of the Great Apes could probably take him out with a well-placed beam attack. Android 21 would be the one to fire the final blow, as she was the strongest and the most capable of doing so. However, she gives him a chance to say his last words, which would prove to be a seemingly fatal mistake, as he would prepare to destroy the planet once and for all, killing all of them right away. However, Android 21 would be able to see Frieza building up this power in his hand to do so. So instead, she kicks him into the air and then fires a Kamehameha, a technique she learned from her hubby. Frieza would shout out to the heavens, screaming the only reason that they were able to beat him is because they ganged up on him. If it wasn't for that, he would still be the strongest in the universe, undefeated and unmatched. However, it doesn't really matter. He is the one going to hell here, and the Earth gets to live another day. And that, my dear viewer, is where we're going to be ending things for today. I hope you enjoyed watching this, as I certainly enjoyed making it, and if you could please, like the video, subscribe to the page, and hit the notification bell, that way you're notified whenever I release any new videos, that would be very much appreciated. But now, without further ado, this is, always has been, and always will be the Irishman. Talk to you later. Bye.